So, hi everyone. Thanks for joining the Masters of Search talks. We will kick off the interview and after that go into a Q&A. So everybody has the chance to get their questions answered. Please mute yourself for now if you haven't done it already. And if you have a question along the way, maybe note it down or use the Q&A feature here in Google Meet. It's the dots in the right bottom corner of your screen in the Google Meet UI. And then you have to click on Q&A and then you can enter your question so nothing gets lost. You can also unmute yourself in the Q&A part if you want to explain something around the question or if we want to go into a little bit of a discussion with Felix. So without further ado, I'm super happy to introduce today's guest, who is Felix Zipf, who played a key role in building the marketing engine of SevDesk, a German B2B SaaS in finance and accounting. I think a lot of people from Germany at least, and probably also from Europe, will know SevDesk. They had an incredible growth over the last years and then sold to Segit. I'm not exactly sure. Segit. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it. So Segit. For reportedly, there are rumors of about $400 million. So Felix, some people joining us today will probably know you and also people watching this recording. But for the rest of us, can you just give us a little introduction about yourself and your role at SevDesk?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. And first of all, thanks for this kind intro, Niklas. I'm excited to be here. And also congrats to you on this really nice new interview format. And maybe also thanks to everyone who may have postponed the weekend a bit to participate. I hope it will be worth your time. And maybe as a quick disclaimer, I know this interview series is called Masters of Search, but perhaps this is not the correct framing for me because I'm not a master of search. And I think some of my colleagues within our great marketing team at SevDesk deserve that title much more than I do. That said, in my role as marketing strategy and operations leader, I think I oversee our strategy quite well, and I can assess the role and importance of search within our go-to-market approach. And I think it's also kind of part of my responsibility to ensure we are well prepared for future developments in this field. And so I hope all of this makes me a valuable interview partner today. And I look forward to the next hour and to an open discussion about this really relevant and important marketing topic.
Okay, Felix, you're a very humble guy, and I think this speaks for you. So shout out to everybody who has worked with you or who works with you in the team, who has built this together with you. You've been with SevDesk for almost 10 years now. I think it's 9 years and 6 months or something. Let's go a little bit back in time and let us borrow your thoughts. Why did you join SevDesk back then in 2016?
Yeah, well, I started my marketing career roughly 10 years ago as a working student at a digital agency. And I was gaining back then my first digital marketing experience. To be honest, it was more or less a coincidence that Fabian, as co-founder of SevDesk, and Peter Sutter, as former marketing chief, were both former handball teammates of mine and were looking for a new working student for their marketing team. And just to give some context, back then SevDesk was still in a very early stage with about 10 employees. And also in our region, as SevDesk was founded in Offenburg, being a startup in the SaaS space was quite unusual at that time. And anyway, I didn't hesitate for a second and decided to join because, I wanted to be part of something where I could grow, where I could learn, and where I could create. And now, nearly 10 years later, I'm still part of SevDesk, even though we've developed and changed obviously a lot, but I definitely never regretted this decision, yeah.
Very nice. How many people are you today, like in the whole company, not only the marketing department?
Yeah, I think we are roughly about 220, 230 people now, yeah.
Yeah, this is a nice development from 10 people and working student to your position now and to this size of the company. You had quite a few roles. As you said, you started as a working student, and I saw, and everybody can see it on your LinkedIn profile, that you somehow moved up the ladder, if you say so. Can you share a little bit about how your role has changed over time?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I started as a typical marketing generalist and gained, hands-on experience in the beginning across several marketing disciplines like SEO, content marketing, affiliate marketing, partner marketing. And I think somehow that's quite common for an early stage startup where roles are usually broad at first. But I think over time, and especially because SevDesk and our marketing team were growing, I had the opportunity to specialize and to build this kind of T-shaped profile with broader knowledge in digital marketing on the one hand side, but on the other side, deeper expertise in product marketing and conversion rate optimization. And I think from these operational roles in the first years, I had then the opportunity to move into a team lead position in 2018. And today I'm a director of marketing with the responsibility, like I mentioned, for our operating model, for our marketing strategy. This means that besides working with a lot of really talented and ambitious marketers, there was a more or less natural shift from operational tasks to this kind of more strategic work over time.
Very nice. And even though that we're talking about search today, I'm curious, what was like the channel or the initiative or something that you liked the most? So was it an event? Was it search, or was it something else? Where did you feel like, hey, this is my home turf?
Home turf, I would definitely say product marketing, conversion rate optimization, and now in the last years, definitely marketing operations, marketing data. But when we're talking about what are my favorite marketing channels, I would definitely say that I'm in love with organic search for sure. And I'm also pretty proud about our digital partnerships we established over the years, which are also quite relevant in this whole AI search discussion right now. So that would be my two favorites, I would say.
What are the partnerships? So is it accountants, or is it other companies in the space, or what are the partnerships?
Yeah, we have some long-term business influencers, for example. Then we have a lot of media publishers where we work with for a couple of years now, and I think that's the field how we define digital partnerships. Yeah.
Oh, very cool. I think my colleague Marius actually said that SevDesk, I think you also saw this comment on LinkedIn, that he saw SevDesk like a very long time ago in a YouTube video.
On YouTube,
yeah. And that SevDesk has become top of mind for him ever since, just because of that. So okay, he actually saw it in many videos. So it's really cool. I think you guys have actually created this feeling of omnipresence, that you can't go around SevDesk. Was this something that you had as a plan also from the beginning, that you want to be present in like all sorts of channels? Because I mean, this can also have the risk of losing focus, right?
Yeah, I think in hindsight you can always say, yeah, it was the plan, but to be honest, it was a sustainable GTM motion for us, and therefore we invested even further into it. And we have a lot of presence on YouTube, for example, because a lot of business influencer talk about us, and I think it was kind of a conscious choice. But in hindsight, it's always easy to find a narrative why we did what we did, and I'm not sure if this is always fair and the rational view at all. So.
Yeah, if something works, you just say, hey, it was strategy. And if it fails, you say, hey, it was an experiment, and at least we learned something from it.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I like your honesty about it. So from our previous conversations, I know that search has played a big role in your growth, and you also mentioned organic search yourself now. Can you give us a little bit of your reasoning behind this? So why do you think it was so important?
Yeah, I mean, the reason behind our early investment in organic search was quite obvious, at least in hindsight. And I think we are a cloud-based accounting software for micro enterprises and self-employed in Germany and Austria. What means that we are somehow both. On the one side, a B2B SaaS solution, but on the other side, we also operate in this really high volume and low price environment, very close to B2C. And what we saw was that within our target audience, there was this really strong search demand, not only informational search, but also transactional search. And it was therefore one main goal, and quite obvious, that we wanted to try to establish a sustainable and cost-efficient organic search GTM motion, not only from a performance perspective with some kind of good rankings for transactional keywords to generate leads and maybe also more this kind of traffic in the mid and lower funnel, but also from brand perspective by ranking well for this kind of informational keywords to generate this high volume of upper funnel traffic. And yeah, I think overall these early and also consistent investments in organic search definitely paid off for us and were a key factor in our growth story, especially from a new customer acquisition perspective.
Very cool. You already mentioned one key term here, I think, which is consistent. So from my understanding, when you guys started to invest into the channel, you basically never stopped, right?
That's absolutely correct. Yeah, it was an always-on GTM motion, which and it was quite cost efficient. In the beginning, you have this initial invest, but afterwards you always get something in return, which is quite great and is way more efficient than most paid channels are. So.
I think this is a key learning, because I was also amazed as we spoke the first time, like before this interview, that still to this day you are constantly investing into this channel. Because I mean, I also speak to a lot of marketing leaders and founders, and I think they are smart people, but some of them still have the question, okay, but when can I stop? Like, when is the point reached when I don't have to invest in this anymore? And I sometimes say, yeah, never.
Yeah,
and then
sure. This question does not make sense for me, because when you stop, you definitely will lose traction, and you have to invest constantly, and that makes totally sense. And then you have also the chance that this channel evolve over time as well. So you should not stop, from my perspective.
And can you give us a little bit of an idea about the balance between organic search and paid search? Because I can imagine that you invested a lot in organic search, but also paid search. So as you said, there's a vast amount also of transactional and commercial queries. So I can imagine that you also probably had a strong bias towards grabbing the low-hanging fruits, maybe, so to say, and converting people right away.
Yeah, when we're talking about website traffic, the majority of our traffic is organic. We are talking about 60%, something like that, from Google alone, and then maybe 5% from Bing. But in terms of leads, it's quite different, I would say. There is a bigger dependency on paid as well, but I would still say that paid search and organic search are our strongest lead channels as well, and they are on the same level, I would assume. Yeah.
Very cool. I think this is key, because if you look at, like, we will come to the point on how Google will develop in the future, etc. But if you look at the search engine result pages, even today, it's like this mix of organic placements, paid placements, and basically Google understands pretty well where people have like a commercial and transactional intent. So if you want to get like the biggest piece of the cake, you have to always play both games, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And Google, for sure, or in general, search engines play a really dominant role in our environment. And I think that we have this special circumstances with high volume, low price. But search is definitely a key driver for us and for our acquisition engine.
Super interesting. I mean, now you have years of experience also with organic search, how SEO has developed over time, etc. Now we are maybe calling it GEO or something like that. We'll come to that. But can you give us some insights about how your playbook developed over time? Because I can imagine that maybe the things you did in the beginning are maybe not the things you still do now, and that there's some like learnings that you saw along the way. So can you just enlighten us a little bit about how SevDesk's organic search strategy evolved over time?
Yeah, I mean, chronologically, we started our organic search efforts in 2015 and early 2016. That was even before I joined the company. And we started with some kind of landing pages for some important transactional keywords like accounting software, invoicing software, write an invoice. And we also established quite early a blog where we had some early wins with broader informational keywords. we had this really successful blog post about ideas for self-employment early on, where we had really early a quite decent inflow of organic website traffic because we had good rankings on this keyword. A bit later, we then added a lexicon directory containing articles and topics related to self-employment, accounting, and taxes. We then created template landing pages, like an invoice template or business plan template, where we offered this kind of free templates and achieved also some quite impressive rankings. And we also established quite early landing pages with useful calculators, where you could calculate, for example, working hours or hourly wages. And then I think our latest two major efforts were, on the one hand, to establish another directory, which is called our advisor directory, where we offer even more specialized and tailored content around self-employment. And on the other hand, we invested heavily in the last years in what we internally call toolkits, which are actually kind of lead magnets, where we offer generators for free and ask in return for user data, especially mail addresses. And some examples are here: an invoice generator or an e-invoice viewer. And yeah, I think that's more or less a short and high-level overview of our SEO efforts over the past decade. And when we then talk about how our playbook developed over time, I would say that we set different priorities in different stages, and we constantly rebalance whether we should focus more on informational search demand, which tends to feed the upper funnel and increase maybe also more overall website traffic, or whether we should concentrate more on this mid and lower funnel, where we try to rank for important transactional money keywords and generate this kind of transactional search traffic, which has then probably a direct impact on our lead generation. And I think that was always this balance that we needed to set priorities. And the word here is very neither black nor white. So I think that's the game.
Yeah, very, very cool. So, I mean, I love this approach. I feel like some people look at their product and they immediately think in some like very closely related transactional terms and keyword. Yeah. But from my understanding, you guys rather looked at the person you're selling to, right? And you try to create this ecosystem of ideas around the product, because I mean, the business ideas for self-employment, like SevDesk does not set up the company for you, but if you start self-employment, then you need to write invoices, etc. So was this your reasoning?
Yeah, I think from a brand awareness perspective, it totally makes sense to create early touch points in the customer journey. But on the same time, I would say that's also kind of a don't, what you should not do. And we did this mistake. Maybe also you should not distance yourself too far from your target audience in terms of search demand. I think ranking for keywords that are relevant very early in the customer journey, but still relatively far from a purchase decision, is okay. But ultimately, there should be some connection to the topic of self-employment. In our case, what is, that what your target audience is. And maybe some example, I recently saw that some of our competitors ranked for OnlyFans, which is kind of weird, I think. And yes, you can maybe argue that also content creators on OnlyFans have to do their accounting, but I'm not sure whether it was a conscious choice to rank for this keyword, for example. And I think so there should be the fit with your target audience when we're talking about informational search demand, and to use it also, to use organic search also for building brand awareness and to see it as a brand marketing measure.
My favorite example of this is HubSpot. And HubSpot has also, or not also, but HubSpot has seen quite some traffic decline over the last month. And a lot of people on LinkedIn use it to say, hey, Google has that. And I just dug a little bit deeper. And my favorite example I found there of content where I felt like, okay, where's the connection to the product, was the content piece, how to do the shrug emoji in 2 seconds flat. But then they had a button still to download their social media report. So at least they positioned the lead magnet. Yeah. But did you also have something like that? Because you said you made this mistake. So obviously I want to know where the SevDesk
Yeah.
drug emoji content is now buried?
Yeah, I mean, what we saw, we had this lexicon, and I mentioned that we deal with a lot of topics about self-employment, but also accounting in general, and maybe also starting a business. And what we saw, we got from time to time requests from pupils which need to hold or held a presentation in school, and they wanted to ask what the sources of our articles is and stuff like that. And this also shows somehow that maybe there we did not achieve to reach our target audience. But yeah, I think that's the best example where we saw that we may be a little bit too far away from our target audience. But then you could still argue that in the long run, you maybe can foster or support pupils on their way to self-employment, and then it would make sense. But then the time horizon is even longer. And so I think, yes, that was one example for us.
Very cool example. I always also say to our clients, if we are unsure about the quality of traffic, especially in B2B, so in B2C, it's a little bit more difficult. But if we're unsure about the quality, and if we feel like that probably the traffic won't convert right away, use a tool like, and I'm not affiliated with any of these tools, use a tool like Sales Viewer or Lead Info or whatever to understand the companies that come to your page. So obviously, this is just an indication, but I feel like this can give you at least an idea if the people you're bringing to the site are actually part of the target group you're trying to reach.
Yeah, I think that's a good advice. Maybe for us, it's a little bit harder because, again, we are really high volume. So we have a lot of traffic on our website, but especially for this kind of medium-sized enterprises or enterprise SaaS, it definitely makes sense to use tools like Sales Viewer. Yeah, I would agree here. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks. So obviously we have this elephant in the room, which is AI search, GEO, some call it AEO, whatever we want to call it, but basically the disruption of the classic search engine as we knew it for the past years. And the first thing where at least my impression was that everybody in Germany was a little bit like awakened was the introduction of AI overviews. So basically this short summary at the top, usually at the top of search results. So can you give us a little bit of an idea, how big is the impact of AI overviews already for you? Have you lost traffic?
Yeah, we are definitely not immune to the developments currently taking place in the market. This means that since the launch of AI overviews, our non-branded organic traffic has dropped actually by 20 to 25% in a year-over-year comparison. And we are also noticing this growing gap and this so-called alligator or the great decoupling. Yeah, exactly, where our impressions according to the Google Search Console remain at a high level or even increase while clicks drop significantly. And that said, my overall assessment of the impact of AI search for SevDesk is actually not negative. We see and we monitor that we already have a really strong visibility on all major AI platforms and all large language models like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, Grok, Gemini. And therefore, I recently appreciated the framing by one of my colleagues who noted that with the current market developments, maybe upper funnel traffic will likely become a vanity metric because we now already see that the referral rate from AI platforms is really low. And I think through AI overviews, the referral rate from Google is also already decreasing rapidly. And in the long run, through AI mode, I guess it will decrease even further. Because we will have this kind of natural shift towards conversational search. And I think people will probably remain on the search engine or the AI platform instead of going to company websites to get their information in the future. So this means, from my point of view, getting website traffic through organic search will be harder in the future, which does not mean that you are not necessarily visible in the market and not visible for AI search. So from my perspective, these should probably be separate discussions. That's my view.
Now, a spicy question, a spicy follow-up question, because you admitted the drop in traffic, and I think it's something that is just an inevitable reality that that most companies, at least at the scale of SevDesk, face. So if you are significantly smaller than SevDesk, you still have more of the cake to eat, but SevDesk already eats a lot of the cake to stay in this picture. But have you also seen a drop in conversions on the same level, or has the conversion level stayed steady?
I would say they stayed steady somehow. We have also at some points increases in lead generation. Maybe also direct channels work better now. So I cannot recognize yet that we have a significant drop when we're talking about leads yet, and especially overall our lead generation still works, and I think that's quite important. So it is more this kind of website traffic is decreasing, but our overall performance is quite well, and it is still increasing, what is a good sign for us.
Because I think this is such an important point that a lot of people miss in this discussion. They always say, and I don't want to blame them, it's just what we learned over the last years. We have always said clicks are a proxy for success. And we said if clicks go up, leads go up. If clicks go down, leads go down. But now we have this thing where we just have to rewire our brain. And I said internally, the exchange rate just changed. Like previously, maybe you needed 50 clicks for one conversion. Now you might just need 30 because they are more highly qualified, because you don't get some of the top funnel clicks, but more of the mid and bottom funnel clicks. Do you also feel like this is something where we have to rethink how we compare clicks to leads?
Yeah, sure. And I think that's a fair perspective. And I would definitely also say I don't see this very huge threat when we're talking about transactional search right now. Maybe this will come in the future as well. But I see especially that informational search is decreasing. And therefore, I'm more worried about what this will mean for our brand awareness in the long run, but not so much worried about what it will mean for our performance in the short and midterm. So that's my perspective here. And yeah.
Got it. You already mentioned your presence in AI search, and with AI search now, I mean ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, Grok, and Mistral, and whatever. Claude. Can you give us your thoughts about traffic from these sources and visibility? So how do you think about, do I get traffic from there? Am I visible there? Because I mean, you already mentioned that the conversation will happen more into the platform, but I feel like some people still have, they have difficulties to say, okay, if I don't get traffic, how can this be relevant to my business?
Yeah, maybe just to make a reality check, our referral traffic from ChatGPT and Perplexity has been constantly increasing since the beginning of this year, which indicates an increasing adoption of these tools by our users, I guess, and probably also shows our good visibility on these platforms. That said, I just mentioned this kind of referral gap from AI platforms, right? So of course, this is also true for us, and according to Google Analytics and also according to our own website tracking and our own attribution, right now less than 1% of our traffic and of our new website visitors currently come from ChatGPT, and the numbers from all other AI platforms are even lower. And just to put this in perspective, almost 60%, and I mentioned it before, of new users come through organic search on Google, and even 5% through organic search on Bing. So I think from an organic traffic perspective, ChatGPT and the other AI platforms are not relevant yet. And as I mentioned, I'm not sure if they will become really relevant as a traffic source in the long run. What does definitely not mean that we won't actively invest into AI search going forward.
Speaking of actively investing in AI search, can you share some? I know you can't share everything because if competitors are listening, we can't spoil the secret sauce to them. But what are you doing? What's your activities, experiments?
Yeah, definitely. I think the last maybe 18 months in the search field, we were mainly focused on experiments and establishing the capabilities to use AI for scaling content production and creating search content. I think this was more or less a tactical move, not strategy. And I guess many companies out there did experiments like we did. So yes, of course, we produced AI-supported and AI-generated search content, first with ChatGPT, then we tested other AI platforms, and recently we started to use a more specialized and quite powerful tool called SEMG. And I think while these tactical moves worked very well for us for a while, I think with the latest developments, especially AI overviews and the upcoming AI mode, I believe that this approach won't be effective forever. So I think we need to adapt our search strategy. And for me, one of the key questions will be, how can we continue to produce unique and relevant content in the future? Because to be quite frank, mediocrity in search marketing has never been easier than today, right? So the real challenge or the real art is producing something unique, what others can't produce on their own. And I have two examples here. And just to mention it, while we are in the middle of a process to figure out what this means in the long run, I still think that there are some areas where we have already a quite clear picture. This means that we definitely think it makes sense to transfer some of our existing SEO measures into this new kind of GEO world, what means we will definitely continue to invest in topics like calculators, tools, and also comparison pages. We are talking here more about transactional search, right? And additionally, there are, I think, some areas where we see great potential beside the things we have already done. And I think one example here is, I believe that with our really big or large customer base, we can, for example, aggregate customer data in a completely anonymized way to publish regular studies as kind of health check for self-employment in Germany and Austria. And I think not only AI will appreciate this kind of data and studies, but there's also a chance that trustworthy media publishers will pick this up. And yes, here I believe in a kind of renaissance of public relations, because I think trustworthy digital mentions, they will be a quite impactful currency when we're talking about AI search in the future. And I think that's also a reason why we will continue to foster our digital partnerships. And I'm really happy that we have many advocates and partners of SevDesk out there in the market that are producing content about us on their platforms and their communication channel. That was one example. And maybe another one, and just looking at it from another angle, I believe we have a pretty good understanding at SevDesk of our customers, and we conduct many customer interviews on a regular basis, not only in the marketing team, but also in the product team. And moving forward, we want to use these kind of customer interviews and the data from them even more to create this kind of unique and authentic content. And that's also one opportunity that will hopefully be an advantage for us in the long run.
Very cool. This was a lot shared, so really appreciate that. You already mentioned that there's something on the horizon coming, and you also named the game, which will be AI mode. Give us a little bit about your thoughts about AI mode. So what do you expect to happen? How do you see Google integrating this? Do you think it will be the default experience anytime soon?
I think I mentioned it already. I think we recently see a real shift in search behavior and the way people search. But just as another disclaimer, I don't know if I'm brave enough to make this really kind of bold predictions in the current times. What I can certainly say for myself is that I'm deeply impressed about the pace at which things are currently developing. And I have not experienced this in my 10 years of digital marketing so far. And I think things change very fast. And this is especially true for search behavior and search topics. And I see that, keywords could probably be replaced by prompts in the long run. Text could be replaced by speech. So the entire interface will maybe change. I wouldn't be surprised if even more people will shift their search behavior from traditional search engines to AI chatbots, or if other people, and I think especially about younger generations, so Gen Z and younger, will integrate also social media way deeper to gather information and to search for information. And that said, I definitely see that Google get a lot of competition right now, but I still believe that they are really well prepared for all of these developments. And you mentioned already AI mode. So in the short term, maybe they will lose some market share, but in the long run, I think they have a future-proof strategy somehow, not only with AI mode and with Gemini as impactful large language model, but maybe also with YouTube as social media platform. So I think it will be kind of hard to attack Google in the mid and long run. But here I would definitely be interested also in your perspective, and maybe also the entire audience has an opinion on that. That would be interesting for me. So yeah, I will be quite interested to see what the future brings. And right now it feels a little bit like looking into a crystal ball, right?
Yep. 100%, 100%. I think we can also engage in that in a second, but I think a key thing you mentioned is that Google, at least they don't say, hey, okay, they are flashing their teeth. So they still seem to really want to win this. And actually, the Q2 earnings just dropped 2 weeks ago when we are recording this. And for everybody that might not have seen it, at least from a financial perspective, Google is doing quite well. So they actually did $96 billion in revenue in the second quarter of 2025, which is up 14% to the previous year. And their net income, which is basically the pre-tax revenue. So, I mean, I'm not an accounting and especially not international multi-corporation accounting expert, but their net income was 28 billion. So this is also quite a lot. And Google search and other and YouTube ads, everything is up. Only the Google network, probably because people are not investing into display ads anymore. Only this is down. But at least from a revenue and from a business model perspective, so far they have not lost any significant key in their business model. But we will see how this plays out.
I think that's interesting. And they still have to make the decision how they want to integrate paid search into this AI overview, AI mode. That will be interesting. And I don't have a really clear picture yet. But and then, the future look bright for them, probably.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because this is obviously Google worldwide data, but AI overviews have been around the US for even longer than in Germany. In Germany and the EU, I think most of the countries in the EU, I'm not 100% sure, it rolled out in March. So actually these Q2 earnings, which is the quarter that ended in June 30th, this actually includes this period already. So at least there, it seems like it does not disrupt their business model, at least in a way that they stop their innovation progress. So we'll see. I heard this interesting take from Malte Landwehr, who was working at Idealo for, I think, 5 years, and then 5 years before that at Searchmetrics. So he has some knowledge about the search space, to say the least. Now he's CMO at Peak AI. And he basically said that Google will probably just, maybe Google won't do it manually, but just based on the auction having less impressions, that the CPC will just rise. But in the end, you might not pay significantly more for the conversion because the users are significantly more qualified. So do you see reasoning behind that? Do you also think that could make sense?
Yeah, that sounds absolutely reasonable. And in the end, I'm convinced that Google will definitely want to earn money to the paid business also in the future. And therefore, that could be a development which sounds quite reasonable.
Then maybe one last question on a personal note before we go into the Q&A. If you, as Felix, like as the private Felix and also the business Felix, if you have to search for stuff or if you research stuff, be it the next vacation or maybe a new mountain bike, I don't know, whatever you have in your mind, which platform do you turn to?
I think I integrate more and more ChatGPT also in my personal life, and I'm also aware of this kind of studies where we see that 89% of B2B buyers already use ChatGPT or AI within their buying process. But for me personally, as a B2C, as a consumer, I already use ChatGPT as well there. Maybe I'm kind of an early adopter when we're talking about this technology, but yeah, it's definitely ChatGPT. That's my go-to tool. I also experiment with other AI platforms, but I think my usage with ChatGPT is definitely the dominant one. Yeah.
Cool. Interesting. Thanks so much for sharing that. So guys, now we open up for the Q&A. I already have one question here live in the Q&A section. Maybe just for everyone, as a quick reminder, in the Google Meet interface at the bottom right corner, you see these dots. It's 9 dots, somehow like tic-tac-toe. And then you have to click on Q&A, and then you can add your question. We already have one. I also got 2 beforehand from LinkedIn. But I want to start with the question we got here, which is, what does the SevDesk marketing team look like, especially regarding organic and paid search? How many people, which qualifications, how's the work divided across the team? So there, someone wants to do the X-ray.
Yeah, I mean, I can do the deep dive on the organic team, because I think that's the main topic today. And I would say we have here a small but mighty team. Right now we have 2 full-time employees, 1 content expert, 1 SEO expert, and 3 working students. And I think all of them, and I want to emphasize that, are doing a really great job. And additionally, the content and GEO team collaborates closely with a small web development team, which also consists of 2 full-time employees. And then we are working with a pool of external copywriters. This means that we outsource consciously larger parts of our content production and established over the years, I think, a quite solid workflows, which ensures a pretty smooth content production process. And besides the operational part, we also have an agency on board, which primarily supports us from a strategic point of view. And I think, all in all, for us, this is a really good setup, and I'm really happy with our work in this field.
Okay. Maybe because paid search was explicitly mentioned, can you just give maybe a very short idea about who is involved in that part?
Yeah, the setup looks quite similar, I would say. We have also 1.5 full-time employees as performance marketing manager. And then we also work with an agency here, which supports us on an operational level, but mainly on a strategic level as well.
Okay, cool. Thanks so much for sharing. Then we have another question from Misha, who asked, imagine you launch the SaaS Bootstrap startup today. How would you start with SEO, and what will be your pace?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think SevDesk is in the comfortable situation that we are already have a quite decent present, and I already mentioned it, that I think digital mentions are a quite important currency in this entire game. But I would definitely still invest also as a startup in these times into this game. And so I would also ask myself, what kind of content can we produce? How can we be unique with our content? So I think the game is still the same, and a lot of SEO measures are still relevant for the GEO world. So I would definitely say that you definitely need to invest there. And maybe I would have a little bit more this shift to transactional search demand and would focus a little bit more there, because I see this cannibalization from informational search through AI platforms that would probably not be the starting point for me personally. But I think you are also here a really expert, and so you will probably also have something in mind, right? And you see a lot of out there in the market what also early stage startups do right now.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I can add to that. So Felix pointed this out absolutely correctly. So what I would always try to think about is where do I see the best product search fit? So we all know this concept about product market fit, and I would always try to understand product search fit. So what are people actually looking for? And this does not only mean on Google. So it's, to me, completely tool agnostic. So if Felix, for example, says he uses ChatGPT most of the times, and I would consider him a potential customer, I would try to understand how is he using it. And this, obviously, you have to do it on a larger scale. So if you, for example, already have a user base, maybe ask them if they want to do a quick interview for you, maybe offer them some Amazon gift card or whatever, to say, hey, do you have 30 minutes for me to understand your search behavior more? And if you understand how people are actually looking for stuff and where you see potential connections to your product, invest in content on your own site around that, and also try to understand who is present in the citations, for example, on AI search tools. So, for example, we just did an analysis for German landing page and website builder. They are basically setting out to challenge the market of Jimdo, of Squarespace, of WordPress, and we just checked for prompts that we feel people might enter into ChatGPT or Perplexity. What are the sources? And obviously, this is a little bit the hype train. There is some Reddit. There are some Reddit threads in there, but there are also other platforms. So sometimes it's even gutefrage.net, which is a German equivalent basically of Quora. Sometimes you have directory websites, and you have to understand that if you want to influence the conversation there, you also have to be present there. You might not necessarily need a backlink, but I mean, SevDesk, as Felix said, has this wide range of creator network partnerships, etc. So obviously, if I am looking for accounting software, I always see you guys come up also in ChatGPT, etc., alongside some competitors that have far inferior products. But I think this is something that you just have to understand. So you basically, as a rule of thumb, if you think about Google, no matter AI overviews and also AI mode in the future, you see basically more owned content, so content from yourself. And then if you go to Perplexity, it's a little bit mixed, owned and earned. And then on ChatGPT, basically it's significantly stronger earned. So not your own content, but other people talking about you. And this is something that is a rule of thumb I would just keep in mind and try to influence the conversation on all these platforms. Hope it makes sense. Cool. We have another question from Max. Thanks, Max. He asks, when you think about an AI visibility tool, what would it need to deliver to be truly valuable for you?
Yeah, I think that's also a good question. And to be honest, I really like the approach from PKI. We are also using this tool right now, and I think they do a quite good job. What I see is really extremely valuable is especially the sources which they show. So they show us which kind of platforms there's a citation about SevDesk and how relevant is it for SevDesk. And I think that creates real value for us, because for most of these kind of platforms, we have already partnerships. Some are our competitors. There we will not establish any kind of partnerships for sure. But so I think, yeah, PKI is doing a quite well job. And I'm also kind of curious how the market will develop there, because I think most traditional SEO tools will also step by step add features for AI search. So I think there will be a lot of development in the next weeks and months. And I already noticed that Systrix, for example, also started to integrate some first AI features in the beta version. And I would assume that a lot of tool provider will now start to integrate AI feature. And maybe in the long run, we will also see, and I think that was also a hypothesis from you, also the AI platforms will start to add analytics feature directly on their platforms, and that will make sense. So I'm not sure. I think it will be valuable to have AI visibility tools, but I think the market there will also be quite crowded, I guess.
Yeah, probably even more crowded than now. I mean, Malte from PKI, he challenged me on my my prediction, but I mean that's the whole point of doing bold predictions on LinkedIn, to also sometimes engage in an interesting conversation. But what I see happening, and I mean we see it with ChatGPT now already in the partnership with Shopify, at least for the e-com sector, that they are planning a direct integration of the checkout. And I mean, so we always have to keep in mind, this is stuff that is not new. So Instagram has tried this, Google wanted to do this once. Now TikTok Shop has launched big time, and I've seen. So I listened to Tarek Müller from About You and from other people, where I would say that their product assortment is generally something that could match there, but nobody. So I've heard no one really convinced about TikTok Shop. So I don't want to compare the breakthrough innovations of AI with TikTok Shop, obviously, but sometimes I feel like with AI developments, we lack some critical thought about user adoption. So will users actually use this? Will they like it? Will they trust ChatGPT with their credit card? So even if I like, for example, when I look for a new espresso machine at home, which could be a 200 euro or 1,500 euro purchase, will I really put in my credit card on ChatGPT and really expect the product to arrive at my home in 3 days? Maybe yes, maybe no. We will see. But this is something where I just feel like we have to always keep in mind that users actually have to use this stuff.
Yeah, I think it's fair. This philosophical perspective as well, and also this kind of critical reflection. And yeah.
Yeah, we will see how this plays out. I got one question from LinkedIn beforehand, which is, what were other channels that helped you grow, and how do you see them play together with search?
Yeah, that's also a good one. I think some of our first function, or actually our really first functioning GTM motion, functioning and scalable GTM motion, was paid social, with really short-term impact and short-term return on invest. And actually that gave us the opportunity to establish without pressure with organic search then the second more sustainable GTM motion. But I'm not sure if this would still work like it did for us in 2015, because back then cost per click were quite low on paid social, and we had the chance to establish this motion as well. But yeah, that was definitely one we established early on. And I think then our third motion was then back then already this kind of digital partnerships I mentioned earlier. So yeah, I think these were the fields where we started, and later on we also invested more heavily into paid search, which was quite expensive already at that time. So that was then not any longer the bootstrap phase, I would guess. But yeah, paid social paid out for us quite well, but in different times, I would say.
Okay, yeah, really cool. I think I heard Fabian, one of the founders or the co-founders of SevDesk, also in the Unicorn Bakery podcast, talk about it. And if you say paid social, if I'm not mistaken, it was Facebook ads, or now it's called Meta ads, but it's Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah,
ads,
it was
right?
back then Facebook, also with another adoption rate there. Back then, Facebook was the go-to social media platform, and now there's a lot more competition there as well. So different times.
Yeah. I also remember friends from paid social departments talking about €4, €5 CPMs, and now I think this is, so I'm not as deep into that still anymore, but this is probably a thing of the past, right?
Yeah, I think on TikTok, for example, we still see quite low CPMs, but definitely not possible on Facebook or Meta in general any longer, from my perspective, or what we see in our data. And LinkedIn is even more expensive, but there you can argue that it's more or less not this kind of brand awareness channel, but more a performance channel. So yeah, also different game here.
And does TikTok work for you in terms of conversions? Because I can see it working in terms of a cheap distribution, but
yeah. No, I would definitely say right now it is more a brand awareness channel for us, and we really generate so much reach there, and that works for us quite well from a brand marketing perspective. But this is not actually a performance channel for us right now. Maybe that can change over time, but right now it is definitely more to building or to increasing brand awareness.
Cool. Very interesting. I got another question beforehand from LinkedIn, which is, what's your strategy for YouTube? And I think it's a relevant question because YouTube is also becoming more and more of a search discovery engine. So can you share something around that?
Yeah, I think we have to discuss also this holistically, and we definitely want to invest even further in video content. In the future, we did this in the past, and we stopped it a bit, and now then we recycled a lot of our short video content formats because YouTube Shorts is the same like TikTok and like Instagram Reels, and in the future we definitely want to increase again to produce also content on YouTube, also because we think it will be relevant for AI search as well. And then what I mentioned, we want to create unique content, probably also with our partners and with our customers. That will be the chance. And I definitely believe in user-generated content, not only this short format, but also with longer video formats. And that will be the future. But we definitely see this as part of our entire content and GEO strategy as well.
Very cool. I would second what Felix said around YouTube becoming more and more important, because there's a study of Profound, which is like a AI visibility monitoring tool. I mean, I don't know what they call themselves, but where they basically took the data from 10 million citations that are used in Google AI overviews, which is, I think, either US or globally. So I'm not sure about that. Sometimes they produce research and it's commercialized research, so they don't give too much info about the background. But their YouTube is like a big chunk of the citations. And I mean, it makes so much sense because if you think about Google in their whole ecosystem with YouTube as their own social media network, it makes a lot of sense. Then a YouTube, if you think about the knowledge that is captured in YouTube videos, it's like immense. And this is probably also something that Google tries to bring more to the surface, like in terms of their search interface. So yeah, super interesting. So really interested to see how you guys do it in the future. We'll definitely watch some videos.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Cool. So then we have already reached the hour. Guys, if you have any other questions, feel free to either put it into the Q&A now, or if you think about the question afterwards, Felix, if someone is more interested in your perspective on marketing, in following SevDesk marketing journey, maybe also has a follow-up question, where is it best to contact you or to follow you?
Contact me on LinkedIn. I would appreciate it. And I'm always open for discussions about any kind of digital marketing topic. And I can also connect you with our master of search experts within the team. That's absolutely no problem. But I'm always open and would be happy if some of you contact me on LinkedIn. Absolutely no problem.
Very cool. Very cool. This is also how I discovered Felix, because he shared some really cool insights from SevDesk marketing engine. So this was already inspirational for me. So thanks so much, Felix. I think this was quite a wrap. Thanks so much for sharing so much knowledge from the machine room, the marketing machine room of SevDesk. I think this was really packed. Thanks for all the questions, everyone. And all the best to you navigating through this SEO, GEO ecosystem shift. Have a great weekend and see you soon.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. Have a good one. Bye-bye. Nice weekend to all of you.
Bye-bye.